I've been told there's little left to discover. The whole world has been mapped, snapped, and globally positioned. But satellite pictures don't smell like the breeze on Inle Lake in Myanmar. There isn't the hammering of ancient diesel motors, and those maps have no contours for the breath of melancholy seeping over the waters at dawn. This is a place old mapmakers must have sketched in pencil. That way it was easier to erase the edges and redraw them, because the shores and the ways of life they cradle keep changing. Inle Lake is where the world is upside down. People live on the water, they grow vegetables on the waves, and they paddle with their legs. Around here, it's like a rustic Asian Venice. But unlike the original, it's not just a theme park of old buildings, hucksters, and tourists. People still live here. Their community hasn't yet been washed away in the tsunami of sightseers. Inle Lake is a puddle in the heart of Shan State, a restless place in a country still blinking after decades in the dark of a military dictatorship. It's home to about 70,000, most of them Intha people. Many of them live in stilt houses above the shallow waters, in villages like Nampan. This is a self-contained place built to a human scale, nothing too big or too complex. There's a school, workshops, a temple, and stores. There are farmers who gather reeds from deep parts of the lake and pile them against bamboo poles. They become floating beds where fruits, vegetables, and flowers are grown. Since these gardens rise and fall with changes in the water level, they can't flood, and the constant supply of water means bumper crops. Fishermen are out all day on Inle Lake. Sometimes they use nets and slap the water to scare the fish into them. Other times they use cones to trap and spear whatever's inside. Most often they catch carp, sold at the local market along with farm produce and whatever tribal people bring down from the hills. Everyone moves by boat. Perhaps what makes Inle Lake so well known is how those boats get around. Women paddle sitting down, but men wrap one leg around an oar and then drive the blade through the water. Sometimes they look like a marionette with a few strings missing, but the twitches at the back of the boat are practical. The lake is covered by reeds and floating plants. If you sit in your boat to paddle, you can't see what's ahead. Standing means you can look beyond the hyacinth. You can see where you're going. Plus, if your legs do the paddling, both hands are free for fishing. Although the area around the lake is a bird sanctuary, that park status doesn't brighten the shadows falling over the waters. The surface area has shrunk by a third in the last 80 years. Population pressures and ever-expanding floating gardens have turned water into land. Heavy forestry in the hills means more runoff and silt. Pollution is an issue too. Toilets empty into the lake. This same water used for drinking and washing. On the quaint farms, fertilizer use is soaring. Runoff is guaranteed when your seedbed is floating on the water, and the same chemicals that create pretty tomatoes also cause eutrophication. That's when the water has too many nutrients, explosive plant growth, and eventually oxygen starvation, which kills the fish. And ever-increasing numbers of tourists are adding to the pressures. We're doing what sightseers often do: suffocate the thing we love. While some weep for what is disappearing, tears are the least toxic runoff entering Inle Lake. Ever since U.S. President Obama's November 2012 visit to Myanmar, the world figures a new great game is underway in Burma. Big business, big aid, and big travel are looking for growth in one of the poorest nations in Southeast Asia. Waves of massive change are already sweeping over the country and across the surface of Inle Lake. As one of the top 5 destinations in Burma, this enormous carpet of watery greenery is in the crosshairs of industrial tourism. More and more people are coming. The United Nations, with a few $1 million from Norway, is helping locals figure out how to cope with the largely negative changes seeping into the water. But will it be enough to help sustain a unique way of life? Will the people of the lake be able to see beyond the debris of change as they paddle the rough waters ahead?